I'm going to tell you a story about when I felt like this. So I'm going to tell a story about how I went out in the dark and I heard a scary noise of something munching. And I thought it might be a monster ready to munch on me. And I felt scared. With the Chirpy YouTube channel. Last time I told you that I would film for you a video in which I talked about different games that you can play with some of the emotion flashcards type products that exist. I will put links to those down below, but I also wanted to let you know that I did not order any of those because I would have been ordering them just for this video at the moment, since I'm not currently working one-on-one with clients, and I thought that would be a little bit wasteful. Also, my husband and I may be moving, and I don't want to transport a bunch of new things to a new home. That just seems not good, as you can imagine. So what I did instead was to draw some emotions myself. I just picked up my Sharpie. I have this sketch pad that I just got, which I love because the little spiral thing is at the top, so it doesn't bother your hand when you're trying to draw. This is my new thing. I don't want notebooks that have the spirals on the side ever again. It's too annoying. Anyway, I just drew 6 different pictures. The first game I'm going to talk about, you will want to cut these into 6 little pieces, and then you pick one. And of course, you probably want to draw more than 6, but 6 are good to start with. What I tried to draw was angry, sad, scared, frustrated, excited, and happy. This could also be surprised, I suppose. I would accept either. The first game that you can play with these little cards is a match the face game. So what you would do is you would cut these into 6 little cards, mix them all up, you take one out, and then you'd practice showing that emotion. So if you picked out frustrated, then you would go and be frustrated. You'd have the little lines between your head, you'd be gritting your teeth, and you'd look frustrated. I guess it's not that much different than angry, although angry is more forceful. So the goal is, with these little drawings, they're slightly easier than looking at pictures of actual people, because actual people have more muscles than my piece of paper does. Actual people have more differences between people than my pictures do, since they are only 2-dimensional, and since they are all the same color, all the same texture, and they don't have as many pieces to their faces as an actual human does. So that makes it a little bit easier than looking at flashcards that are real people. I do recommend, of course, moving on to that eventually, and you can play all the same games with flashcards of real people. You want to practice all these faces, both of you. So you pick one time, and you can either do it where your child then picks a card and imitates that, or you pick the card, you got this, you practice frustrated, and then your child practices frustrated. I recommend doing this with a mirror. Each of you can have your own handheld mirror. You can do this sitting on the bathroom counter. You can do this with a floor-length mirror sitting on the floor in the bedroom. Whatever works for you. This is one game that you can play with your picture faces. Another game I recommend, also, of course, these are all going to be with picture faces. I don't want to hold this here the whole time. My hand is getting tired, but I need to, because I need to tell you. Let's pick this one this time. And our game this time is, I'm going to tell you a story about when I felt like this. So I'm going to tell a story about how I went out in the dark and I heard a scary noise of something munching. And I thought it might be a monster ready to munch on me. And I felt scared. That's the kind of story that you might want to tell. Of course, you can decide that it needs to be a real story, Or you can decide that it can be a made-up story. Or you can decide it might be only about your own life, or it is about somebody else's life that you happen to see. All of these are acceptable versions of this particular game. Game number 3 is very simple. I probably should have listed this one first. Game number 3 is simply putting a label on these feelings. You can do this verbally: angry, scared or surprised, excited, happy, frustrated, sad. You can make a coloring sheet with these pictures and then have your child write the emotion words. This all kind of depends on the developmental level of your kid. There are lots of different ways you can do this, but you can even have your kid teach you what these emotions are called, because kids love to be the teacher sometimes. Number 3, label the emotion. Number 4 is tell a story and have the child show you the picture that matches that story. If I tell you a story about how my cat got sick and I didn't know what to do and I wasn't sure if she would get better, then you can imagine I might have been feeling sad. My cat did get sick and I wasn't sure if she would get better, but she did in my life, and that is happy. That is game number 4. It's not very difficult. None of these games are meant to be difficult. They're meant to practice emotion skills, and we are by playing these games. Game number 5 is reading a different story and pausing when you, the adult, know that a particular emotion is being expressed in the book and saying, "What is so-and-so feeling right now? Let's find out." And looking at all of your picture cards and picking out whatever the emotion is. When Harold is drawing with his purple crayon and he draws a monster, he's going to be scared. He's scared of the monster. That kind of thing throughout the whole story is really good practice for recognizing those same emotions when they show up in other situations besides just playing card games. Sometimes our kids have a little bit of trouble with what is called generalization. So when we teach a particular skill in a particular way, it's often difficult for our kids, especially those on the autism spectrum or those with other developmental delays. It's difficult for them to transition from using that skill only in this one context to using it in many different situations. So we want to make sure we practice this skill of recognizing emotions, and especially in the face, in lots of different situations. Books are one way that we can do this. We can also play in public when we see something happening. Of course, this needs to be delicately done because we don't want to offend or hurt people's feelings. But if you notice someone in public who is acting a little angry, then we might say, "Do you notice an emotion happening here? Because I think I do." Only if you're far enough away that you're not going to hurt people's feelings or embarrass anyone. Game number 6, you probably need to think a bit about in advance, because a lot of us, even as grown-ups, don't do very well with this. But game number 6 is talking about how each of these feelings feels physically. They are feelings. They are ways that our body reacts to emotions. Feelings. So when I feel sad, I often feel slumped. I often feel slow. I might feel like I need to cry. I might feel like I just want to go to sleep and I don't want to think about things anymore. I might feel like I want to hug somebody or like I need my teddy bear. Those are all feelings that I might have when I am sad. There's a really good book for adults on the topic of recognizing feelings and knowing kind of how to process them, called The Language of Emotions. It's a little kind of woo-woo, but I found it extremely helpful because I, as an adult, have been really bad with dealing properly with emotions, recognizing my own emotions and knowing what to do with them. And I found this book really helpful. So you might as well as you are thinking through your own response to your feelings, and as you are trying to teach your kids how to have healthy responses to their feelings. It's a big old chunky book, but it's a really good one, and you can read it in little bits, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed with it all at once. Game number 7 is draw that feeling. I did that right here. You can start out by having the child copy the picture that you drew, maybe even tracing it, put a thinner piece of paper over the top, and have your child trace it, and then go on to draw these kind of pictures herself. Or if your child is a little more advanced in the development with drawing and motor skills and things like that, then have her simply draw pictures of an angry person, an angry face, or a happy face. Make sure that draw together, and as you're drawing, talk about how a happy person has a mouth that goes up at the corners. A scared person, usually their eyebrows go way high and their mouth might make an O like this. Usually an excited person might show their teeth. They also tend to have really high eyebrows, but instead of their mouth going like a circle, it will usually go. So that's kind of how you can tell the difference between high eyebrows for excited and high eyebrows for scared. Talk through the different shapes that faces make as you are drawing and as your child is drawing. So say, I noticed those eyebrows on your drawing are kind of coming together and pointing down. That person must be angry. And then practice making angry faces, and your eyebrows will go down and you will get wrinkles in your forehead. Especially if you are old, you will get very big wrinkles in your forehead. But everybody gets old unless we don't. So getting old is a blessing. There you have it, my 7 ideas for playing emotion awareness games with cards that you purchased or cards that you made at home. Have fun. Tell me which one is the most fun for your child, and tell me which emotions your child is having the most difficulty with. Some are harder than others. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! To using that skill in all contexts, in many different contexts. I cannot say it today. And I am feeling frustrated.